Good evening. For those I haven't had a chance to say, L'Shana Tova, and going forward, Gemar Tov. As Vice President of Fundraising, I'm happy to address you ever so briefly. I'd like to thank those that have already participated in the Kol Nidre appeal from the nice letter that Ira has already sent to all of you. I appreciate the participation thus far. Ira Lamster has done some wonderful work for us in helping us find our clergy. And I'd like to invite him up here right now to share some more words with us. So, Ira, if you can join us, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Good evening. First, before I begin, let me thank Michael Goldberg and Rabbi Weinberg for asking me to give the Kol Nidre appeal. And Simon, I appreciate the fact that that was a very brief introduction. Just a few years ago, the thought that I would be standing before you on Kol Nidre was not even a consideration. However, over the past few years, I have been more personally involved with Temple Beth Rishon than ever before. So my being here tonight comes as something of a natural progression. Let me explain. Gail and I and our family have been members of TBR for nearly 35 years. My involvement beyond attendance as a congregant has been limited and sporadic. Like many of you, the synagogue was here when needed. Our daughters attended Hebrew school and celebrated their B'nai Mitzvah at Beth Rishon, and the clergy were involved in other life cycle events, both joyous and sad. But for me, there was little time for real volunteerism. Then, about 4 years ago, Allison Cohn asked me to serve on the search committee to identify our next rabbi. I agreed for several reasons, including my friendship with Rabbi Emmerich and Cantor Mamber. That began a journey to find our next rabbi that lasted for 2 years. And after that, with Alon's unexpected passing, I was a member of the committee to identify our next cantor. As part of both searches, the members of the committees learned a great deal about the state of Reform and conservative Judaism in our area. This is representative of what is occurring across the country. A significant number of candidates for both positions were seeking new opportunities because their synagogue was in distress as a result of shrinking membership and financial instability. This is a national trend, and is not simply that we were meeting a self-selected group of candidates. The reasons that synagogues are in distress are known to you: aging of the population in traditionally Jewish communities, changing demographics with older members moving away, the reluctance of younger Jewish families to commit to join a congregation, and cultural shifts in how younger individuals communicate and connect. This is the reality. But what about the situation at Beth Rishon? First, let me point out the obvious. We are all here tonight and in pretty good numbers. Why is that? For some of us, it is for religious reasons, as Kol Nidre is the holiest night of the year. For others, it is because on this night it is important to be with family and friends. Yet still for others, it is because we hear our parents telling us we must be at synagogue, and we are still listening. Nevertheless, our presence this evening is in itself a genuine strength. Second, as an outcome of our search, we recognize that non-Orthodox congregations must embrace a broad range of ideas, beliefs, and programs in order to succeed. A culture of inclusion is required, with successful synagogues offering a wide range of religious, educational, social, and cultural opportunities. The face and the needs of the Jewish community in Bergen County and across the country are changing, with more interfaith families and a broad spectrum of expectations. What worked for us in the past does not work for our children, and younger membership is the lifeblood of successful synagogues. So now here is my first conclusion. Considering who we are, where we are, and the founding principles of Temple Beth Rishon, our synagogue is well positioned to meet the needs of a changing Jewish community in the 21st century, while also promoting a true sense of Jewish identity. In his book, The New American Judaism, How Jews Practice Their Religion Today, Jack Wertheimer offers explanations for the problems as well as possible solutions. One particularly relevant answer is that synagogues must operate in a broader cultural environment that internalizes a set of isms, which are highly antithetical to traditional religion, including volunteerism, educationalism, and moralism. He states that ever more Jews are choosing to identify as Jewish, but define for themselves what that means. In sum, synagogues need to be flexible in their interpretation of what it means to be Jewish and how members of a synagogue practice their religion. But what about us? Established in 1975, Temple Beth Rishon has always been true to its founding principles as an unaffiliated, liberal, egalitarian Jewish congregation. The history of our synagogue is marked by certain points of inflection. First, the founding of the congregation and construction of the first building in 1979, then the major rebuilding of the synagogue in 2002 and reconstruction of the educational wing in 2014. Further, the recruitment of established clergy and Rabbi Emirate and Cantor member provided stability for more than two decades. We are now at another inflection point. We enter this new phase with much in our favor. Let me be specific. First, we have a new rabbi who brings youthful enthusiasm, spirituality, and wisdom to our congregation. Reb Benny has introduced new programs with an emphasis on inclusion, and he is connecting with congregants and is comfortable in his own skin. He is becoming an important voice in our community. Second, we now have a new and experienced cantor who will continue our legacy of music and participation as central to the religious and communal experience at Beth Rishon. Third, there is creative leadership in the religious school and early learning center where the focus is on identity, community, and culture while emphasizing a religious education. The number of students in our program is increasing, and consequently, we can attract new members, new families who will be new members to our congregation. Fourth, the adult education program is expanding, and plans are developing to include new cultural, secular, and religious subjects. We can and should assume a larger role in the community, that of a center for Jewish life, redefining ourselves in a broader and more encompassing fashion. Fifth, of importance, a group of younger congregants has begun to assume leadership roles within our synagogue. They bring energy, intelligence, and new ideas, which are essential to our long-term success. These younger congregants complement the more senior members of the congregation who have carried the load for so long. It is clear to the members of both search committees that collectively our existing membership has remarkable strengths. This is a critical time for Beth Rishon. We have just come through a very challenging period and are at a time of transition, a new inflection point. We are faced with challenges, but with much in our favor. We must all be part of this transition as we determine our future. Please consider that without synagogues, we cannot sustain our religion, however that is practiced. Towards this end, a strategic planning effort is just beginning, which started with rebranding and will continue with a thorough analysis of who we are and where we need to be in the future, with the intent of developing a plan for our synagogue that considers the challenges facing all modern religious institutions today. So, my appeal to you this evening is twofold. First, it is essential that each of us contribute to the synagogue at this important time of year. This is my primary purpose here this evening. The funds raised through the Kol Nidre appeal are an important part of our annual budget, and this appeal allows each of us to contribute as we see fit and as we are able. Second, and of real importance, I urge you to become involved in this new planning effort. You will be learning more about this in the next few weeks, and your participation is critical. This effort will be as inclusive as possible. Please carefully consider both requests. Sustaining our congregation and evolving for the future cannot occur without the participation of everyone here. Let me leave you with this thought. It is certain that without financial support, synagogues will not exist. Without synagogues, our children and grandchildren will lose their sense of what it means to be Jewish. In closing, allow me to wish all of you an easy fast and a healthy, happy, and productive new year. thank you. And if Rabbi Emmerich is listening, Gemar Hatima Tova.
It is our honor to invite Barbara and Peter Norden and Alan and Gregory Saki to open the Ark for us. We are on page 408, 408.